Hey everyone, my name is Juniper. I'm the managing producer for Feldenkrais Access, and I'm very happy to be here with you all live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and I think Instagram in order to chat with Raz Ori, who will be teaching our next class series and our first class series of 2024, Intelligent Feet for Better Walking. Hi, Raz.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Is there anything you'd like to say before we get started with some of the questions that have been submitted?
Well, I'm very excited towards this new class series that will start next week. Um, I'm mostly excited about being able to present these 6 classes that are related to the vitality and mobility of our feet and to the quality of our walking. And I think they have great value and general importance to everyone. And I'll probably say more about it in the context of any questions that we might have from the audience.
We just got a question in on YouTube, Roz. The question is, sorry, I'm reading it from my phone. Should someone learn the hips first down to the feet or take a feet class first?
Oh, so this is in relation to the previous class series that I taught in relation to better walking. So the first one was hips, the second one was knees, and this is the third one, which is feet. So I don't think there's much I mean, I started from the top down, but obviously this class series is going to be independent. It's going to stand on its own right. There will be some overlap in terms of understanding the quality of walking and the synergy of how the different articulations of the legs work with the entire self carriage. But for sure, if you haven't done the previous classes, you're totally invited to come and do the Intelligent Feet class series.
Great. That ties in nicely with a question that has been previously submitted from someone who took your previous class series, Intelligent Knees, and they received a lot of benefit from the series. They have a history of knee problems for many years, and they've found a great deal of improvement doing your Intelligent Knees class series. And they are wondering if the Intelligent Feet class series is applicable to them, even though they don't have a foot issue per se.
Absolutely. So the Intelligent Feet, um, what I'm going to try to present are some very universal and general ideas about what makes our feet an efficient milestone or a crucial milestone in our gait, in our ability to walk. So you don't need to have feet issues to receive benefit from this class series, just like you don't need to have knee problems to benefit from the Intelligent Knees class series. And in fact, they're very complementary because the points that I was trying to make or to drive forward um, are they're all connected. What I'm going to try to exemplify with the feet is, of course, very connected to the mobility of our knees and our hips. So all of these classes are very complementary to each other.
Great. Thank you, Roz. Someone just wrote in and is asking, they broke their ankle 3 months ago, and they're just starting to get their mobility back. They're wondering if this class series will help their recovery or if it will be too much.
Oh, excellent question. So there's going to be a combination of movements or exercises, some of which are very simple, very soft, very easy, very non-demanding, very easy, easily modulated. So even if you have pain or injury or a restriction in your movement in your foot, you will find a way to be able to do those movements with ease because you will be able to modulate and adapt those movements to yourself. Some of the exercises will be a little bit more challenging. For example, things that will be done in standing with weight bearing, but then of course you don't need to do all of the exercises, or you can do very little of some of the exercises that are more challenging, or you can make a note to yourself to come back to that more challenging exercise in a month or two. So I think there will be a very wide repertoire of graded exercises during this class series that each one will be able to find their way to deal and adapt to the challenges that the exercises will bring forth.
And just to throw in here that we do always, or as often as possible, include a sitting adaptation of an assistant teacher who's doing the lesson in a sitting position. So if someone needs to adapt the lesson to a seated position, they can see how the practitioner doing the lesson in sitting engages with the instructions. Another question we received, Raz, is as follows. I have been using orthotics for many years due to foot pain when I stand and walk, but I still have the pain. Do you have any recommendations for me? Should I continue to use the orthotics?
Okay, so without knowing you, I cannot recommend whether you should or should not use the orthotics. But without knowing you, I can definitely say that there are more things that your foot and your toes and your ankle can do to be more mobile and stronger. That there's more that you can develop in your mobility and vitality of your foot that could potentially help your foot pain, your gait, your ease of walking. So those are the universal points that I will try to bring forth because the exercises cannot be adapted to a specific pathology or to a specific pain. But strengthening the feet in the way that we're going to do and encouraging their mobility and encouraging the sensory stimulation of the feet the way that we're going to do is going to have a lot of benefit, even for those that are using orthotics or even for those that have foot pain.
Wonderful. We just got a question in sort of along those lines, which is, can you walk well without having to completely correct your foot problems?
Wow. That's a very good question. So I don't know what foot problems you have in mind, again, because I don't know you specifically, but if walking well would have been possible only if our feet were structured in a very specific way, meaning that if you have high arches in your feet, you can't walk well, or if you have flat feet, you can't walk well, or if you're big toe or little toe or a little bit skewed to one side or the other, you wouldn't be able to walk well. We would, as the human race, we would find ourselves in a very, very serious problem. So our feet are designed differently. We each have slightly different feet. And the spectrum of how our feet can be different is actually very, very, very big. And still, we can walk well. When do most foot problems become more evident? In running. So different types of feet would have a very serious challenge in running. But we don't need to run. We don't all run and we don't all need to run, but we do all need to walk. So walking can be improved even if your foot type, so to speak, is not the ideal or perfect, even if your feet have experienced injury, even if you have what you might call a problem in your foot, still the well-being of your walking, the vitality of your walking can always be improved.
Great, thank you, Roz. Someone just wrote in actually with a specific question about a foot problem, which is that they are wondering if it is also possible to get help with a heel spur.
Mm. So, so heel spurs, when they cause pain or inflammation at the sole of the foot, um, sometimes can be very, very stubborn and can be irritating to the soft tissue for a very prolonged period of time. Most times, the tissue heals, the body adjusts and adapts to the heel spur, and the body finds a way to resolve the conflicting, the conflict that is happening between the heel spur and the soft tissue. And with better mobility of the foot and with better strengthening of the foot, those types of exercises sometimes really help to help the body or help the nervous system to organize the movement around the problematics of the heel spur better. But not always. Not always. So I cannot promise that this class series will resolve all heel spurs problems, but definitely worth trying if you're having problems at the sole of your foot or pain at the sole of your foot.
Thank you, Roz. Very optimistic and hopeful. We have another question about a specific issue. Someone writes in to ask, how can one correct pain in the ball of the foot, probably due to wear of the ball of the foot, as I have researched, when one ages over 60?
So part of what happens to our walking and to our relationship with our feet, and even more so when our feet are troubled or when we have pain, is that our movements become very, very patterned. And how we perceive our feet and how we perceive our walking also become very, very patterned and very, in a way, stagnated, meaning that we forget certain aspects of the mobility that we have in our feet. We don't use certain aspects of the repertoire that we can use even during walking. So we become accustomed to thinking that walking is done only in this very specific particular way, and the foot contacts the floor in a very specific way, and the way that it moves during walking is very specific, where in fact there is a wider repertoire of movements and adaptations that are available for us when we walk, when we bear weight on our feet. So that's something to explore. Does the pain in the ball of the foot, does it dictate a very, very specific way of walking, a very, very specific way of taking a step, a very specific way of weight bearing on that foot? And can those specificities be challenged? Can we find different ways, different patterns of motion, of movement, as walking, as using our feet? So that's part of what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to challenge what we think of our feet as being constant, as being static. We're going to try to find more flexibility in how we think about our feet, and more flexibility in how we sense our feet, and then in how we use our feet.
We've had two questions come in on YouTube regarding wearing barefoot type shoes. One person asks, well, they state that I've worn barefoot type shoes for a few years now, which has helped my ankles for flexible walking. Will we look at the placing of our feet when shod? when wearing shoes?
When shod,
Shod,
what does that mean?
S-H-O-D. It means to wear a shoe essentially when the foot is in a shoe.
Oh, okay. Yes, we are. Part of what I see with almost everyone, not 100%, but almost everyone, is that in their walking and in their use of their feet, the toes, the front of the foot and the toes are completely neglected. Part of that is due to the types of shoes that we wear, and the types of shoes that we wear sometimes dictate the pattern, the motion pattern of how we step and walk. Barefoot walking really stimulates using the front part of the foot and the toes. It really stimulates completely rolling forward and using the full fulcrum of leaning into the ball of the foot as the heel lifts off the foot so we can have a more efficient stride. And wearing minimal footwear or shoes that try to be as close as possible to bare feet walking do provide that ability. They do stimulate that ability to completely walk or to completely transmit our weight over the front part of the foot and into our toes. So we're going to look into those aspects of how we place our foot and what is it in the placement of our foot that in a way helps us to neglect other parts of our foot? Or in other words, what is the placement of our foot that makes the best use of our entire foot, the heel, the sole, the ball of the foot, and the toes? I hope that answered the question.
I think it does, yeah.
I hope.
Um, Someone simultaneously wrote in a different question about wearing barefoot type shoes. They ask if you have an opinion about them, and they say that with my overstretched, slightly hypermobile feet, I feel, with my overstretched, slightly hypermobile feet, I prefer supportive shoes, but maybe I'm lazy.
Well, so these types of questions are very, very individual. I can tell you about myself. For years, I thought that my feet need orthotics, that there's no way that I can wear any type of shoe without using orthotics. Why did I think that? That's a full story. We don't have time to go into the history of what are the experiences that created that narrative or that self-belief that I need to have orthotics. But then you know what I found out? That in the summer, I live in Tel Aviv in Israel. You can hardly wear shoes here during the summer because it's so hot. So in the summer, I usually wear flip-flops or sandals with no orthotics. And each summer, I realized that my feet feel better in the summer. And it made me think, well, do I really need orthotics? So for years, thinking that I need orthotics, but now I'm already a couple of years without orthotics, using only minimal bare feet type shoes. But would that be true for everyone? Absolutely not. It depends on the type of foot that you have. It depends on what kind of shoes you wear or do not wear. There are many, many factors in using orthotics, yes or no. But one of the things that I would recommend is variability. So maybe use the orthotics with the shoes, but maybe try getting a different type of shoe and try using that different type of shoe without the orthotics, but use it for a minimal amount of time. So not every day, not for the entire day. Once a week or twice a week, just for an hour or half an hour, and just see what it feels like. And because our feet are like sensory organs, they're full of sensory of nerve sensors, full of them. they love stimulation. They love variability. Ideally, we would walk bare feet on grass, on gravel, on stone, on sand, on different terrains, on different levels, and our feet would be so happy because they get different stimulations all the time. So switching shoes with orthotics, without orthotics, a regular shoe, a minimal shoe wear, it all gives variations, meaning it all gives new stimulation to our feet. And I think that could be of the one of the keys to improving the well-being of our feet.
We have a follow-up question from Helen, who'd written in earlier about whether or not one can walk well without having to completely correct one's foot problems. Her follow-up question is as follows. X-ray shows my sesamoid bones are displaced on the right foot. Can this course help me?
Well, I think the course will help you to have a more intimate, a better, healthier relationship to your feet and to the troubles that your feet are causing you and to how to use your feet better in walking. Will it correct the position of your sesamoid bones? That is impossible for me to say without seeing the x-ray, without seeing your foot, without seeing how you walk, without having the full picture of who you are and how you feel. But the exercises are going to be, I'm sure that the exercises are going to be interesting for you. I'm sure that they're going to provide new sensory stimulation for your feet. I'm sure they're going to challenge the patterns of the movement of your foot and what you think you can and or you should or you shouldn't do with your foot. And that combination, even if it's not going to change the position of your sesamoid bones, but all of those combined are going to be beneficial for you and for your feet.
Great. We have a few more questions have come in. Someone writes to ask, what does it mean if standing makes me feel pain in my heel and knees? When I walk, I feel better.
Okay, so again, we need more details. Standing for how long? Do you feel pain in your heel and your knees after standing 10 seconds or after having stood for 2 hours? Standing without movement at all, or standing and swaying, like micro movements, as would happen if you're in the kitchen or, if you're waiting in line. Um, so it's a little bit hard for me to say, but obviously something about the organization of your standing, or maybe, well, no, it's hard to say because I'm sorry. It's I need more details understanding what kind of standing on what type of
Hopefully,
surface, with what kind of shoes, and so on. So I don't want to make, just hypothetical assumptions based on not enough details.
hopefully whoever submitted that question will hear your response and send us more details. And also an invitation that if you have registered for this class, there will be at least 2 Q&As throughout the course of the series. So you'll have an opportunity to ask Raz questions directly in a Zoom room environment. And then you can
Correct.
have a more like back and forthy, detailed
Correct.
kind of
And
conversation.
right. And if you're not familiar with the format of these lessons when they're up in your library, there is a comment section for each lesson in which you can write specific questions into the comments. And I receive a notification for each comment sent for each lesson, and I usually respond immediately. So
Thank you for adding that, Roz. And just for anyone who's watching this like a year from now or something, if you do, that still applies. So until the foreseeable future, Roz will respond to your questions. Someone else is asking when the lesson starts, and I just want to point out that this live chat today does not include an awareness through movement lesson. The first lesson of the class series is January 11th. It will be live streamed here on our YouTube channel where you wrote in, and on Facebook, and on it'll be posted on the website after it's done. So please do join us for that free introductory lesson on January 11th. And that will be the same time, 12 p.m. Eastern US time. Okay, back to the questions. My low back pain issue has other causes, but a big portion of it stems from the way I walk using my foot, heel to toe, and the impact on my back. Can you address this?
Yes. So part of the beauty of how our foot is structured and in how it's ideally serving our ability to walk is that it acts as a shock absorber. But it acts as a shock absorber only under the right conditions. So what interferes with our foot functioning as a very efficient shock absorber? One thing that could prevent is wearing shoes that we then think that the shoe is the shock absorber, and we neglect the image or the thought that it's actually our feet that is the shock absorber. So paradoxically enough, sometimes shoes that are very cushioned, that are supposed to absorb the shock, make us walk in a way that our foot doesn't absorb the shock. And then those shocks actually do travel up our body in a very inefficient way that causes too much stress or compression on other joints. Another factor could be the pattern of our gait. As I described before, there are different ways to position the foot on the ground as we walk. There are different ways to transfer our weight on our feet as we walk. We tend to think of our foot sometimes as a platform. You just place it on the floor, you transition, you put your weight onto it, and then you reposition it on the floor, taking another step forward, as if the foot is just the end of your leg. But the foot itself is like an entire organ on its own right. And it's supposed to be dynamic, responsive to the ground, to our weight, to the length of our stride, to the speed of our walking. So there are actually so many different factors that are changeable in how we use our foot. Some of these factors used too much or too little actually reduce the efficiency of how our foot absorbs the shocks. And that can have a huge impact on our knees, hips, and of course, on our lower back.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Roz. We just got a question, or sorry, a comment from someone, which I thought was really lovely, that they say, for all of those other viewers who have questions, please participate in Roz's course. So just to echo that sentiment, it's lovely to have you here and to receive your questions. And I think you'll get even more substantial kind of material and tools to work with in the course itself. So I'm going to
think so
end.
too.
I'll just end it there, Roz, and say thank you so much for your substantial and informative commentary and insights. And thank you to everyone who joined us. It's so lovely that you came and sent your questions to Roz. And please come on January 11th for the introductory free class.
Thank you for joining us today. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you in this class series. I hope you'll join us. Thank you.